The one percenters, the one percenters. Everyone starts little pee-wee leagues. There's thousands. Then it comes down to junior high. It gets smaller. Then it comes down to high school. It gets even smaller. Then it comes down to college. It's even smaller. Then finally, what you have at the end of college or end of high school is the top 1% in any field, whether it's academics or there's sports, okay, whatever it is that there's money available for, just the top 1% will be battling out for the benefits. If a military recruiter is coming to your school, in your community, you may consider it that you're not part of that 1%. You're part of the masses. If a recruiter is coming to your school, talking to you at your fundraising events in the community, at the benefits, at whatever, there's fairs or whatever's going on in the community, and they're there, you are probably not in the top 1%. You are in the masses, which basically means that you fit the demographics for a military service, meaning low income, okay? Lower, your parents probably don't have a whole lot of money. Your academics are probably questionable. You're getting by, but you're not really burning it up. You have goals and dreams, but you're not quite sure how you're going to get there. You're heavily, easily influenced. You're in an influential state of mind because you know what you want in your heart. You know how to get there. But the means of making that happen, you haven't figured out yet. Lo and behold, there's rickety rack recruiter knocking on your door. Tap, tap, tap. What we're going to talk about today is education of benefits, part 2. And it's called the devil is in the details. We're going to illuminate the truth about the education of benefits in hopes that you will take a closer look at it and not fall prey to those recruiting tactics. Hi, my name is Gary, and I'm the host, Military Illumination. And today, we're going to take a closer look at educational benefits. This is part 2. If you're listening to if you listen to education benefits part 1, it's going to sound very similar. I kind of got carried away. I went straight into it. It should have been more of an outline one, but the nice thing about it is that you're gonna get a second dose. So maybe if you didn't hear it the first time, you'll hear it the second time. I mentioned the 1%ers, the group before, academics and sports, maybe kids who run like student government and volunteer work. Those are the ones that get the full ride scholarships. Those scholarships are being paid out by someone, by the school, in hopes of making you an alumni, okay? They're not giving it to you, right? You're going to earn it, and you earn it up front by high SAT scores, by high academics, grade point average, a lot of hard work at your craft, a lot of long hours at your craft, and you produce it and you're showing the potential of high level performance. Those are the 1%ers. Everyone else is just the masses. I don't mean to make people sound like they're nothing because that's not the case. It just means that when you're the masses, you're highly susceptible to the influence of the government into enticing you into the military service. That doesn't mean that you cannot do something, you cannot achieve the same thing as a 1%er. That doesn't mean at all. It just means that you have to have a heightened awareness about what you want and the relentlessness to stay the course. To be able to look at what is being presented to you, know whether or not it's for you, and be willing to walk away. That's where your goals and dreams come at. That's where the time you spend by yourself. Just think about what you want to achieve and what do you want short term and long term. And if things doesn't fit exactly what you see, it has to fit exactly, right? Then you should walk away. Cost of education. It's expensive. Scholarships are given out by universities. They're paying a lot of money. Their boosters are paying a lot of money for your education when they give out a scholarship. They're saying that you come to our university, you play a sport. I'm going to use sports right now. I'm going to use sports because everybody sees that. Academically, it's the same thing, right? Because you can still, when you're high academics, you're going to be pulling money to that university. You are going to probably be researching. It's just you're going to be attracting the businesses, the corporations to that university to hire you. Okay, it's a tit for tat. All right. So let's say $100,000. Okay. Now, $100,000 today, education has shown historically to increase. Education has not gone down. So if you're saying yes to this educational benefits today, right? Let's say you're 18 years old, you're out of high school, you gotta serve 8 years. Yes, 8 years. Even though they tell you it's 4, 3, whatever, they got you on the hook for 8 years. Okay. You're gonna be just south of 30 years old, getting started. Think about that. What does education cost you at that time? The benefits of probably doesn't have an inflation rider to it that the military is saying to you, but what will happen is that the cost that today will increase to where the benefit that they're saying you're going to have will not cover it. Think about that. Education has historically gone up. Think about that. So while there's a benefit in the present time, you have to serve. Remember I said before, whether or not you're going to get a scholarship, you're going to pay up front. You're going to have to give your mind, your body, your soul to the government, to the military for 8 years. Yeah, I know. They're going to say you can live for 3, you can live for, but they got you for 8 years. They can exercise that clause whenever they want to. You can be 2 months from getting out, a war breaks out. Guess what? You're stuck. Stop loss. Okay? So you say yes now. The time you get out, it's going to cost more expensive. There's no inflation rider on that. Okay, inflation is going to eat that up. So think about that. VA versus armed forces. I talked about this before. The Veterans Administration is the government department that administers the funds, the programs, the educational programs. You're not going to go through the armed forces that you enlisted into. You're going to go through the VA. Okay. How do I know? I'll tell you later. Which basically means is that you're not going to get the funds right away. There's going to be a period of time where you have to wait for it. It can be as much as 6 months to a year. You still have to go through the paperwork to get the funds that they're saying for you, that you're trying to get to. Okay. You can Google it. It's not going to be a slam dunk. You're going to have to wait for it. You're entering another government bureaucracy. So you may get out, but the funds may not be there right away for you. That money will not be there. So the Veterans Administration is the ones that actually runs that. Okay, now are they going to pay for the whole 3 years, the whole 4 years? No. They're going to pay for just under 3. Okay, the benefits it's tuition assistance. Okay, it's not a scholarship. We'll talk about it later. Tuition assistance. Assist with your tuition. Think about that. Did it talk about tuition assistance, room and board, and books too? No. Tuition assistance that will not span the 4 years that you need. Now, where are you going to live at? Room and board. Well, that's not included. Books and materials, that's not included. Food is not included. Some programs like I went under, which is the Veterans Rehab Program, you may have some cheap dental there, but for the most part, you have nothing. So what you have is that you have one slice of the pie. If you look at a pizza, a family-sized pizza was probably going to be like 8, 10 slices. You have one slice. It's up to you to find a way to get the other slices. Yeah. Does that sound like a good benefit? Now, let's look at the pay for college. Everybody says, pay for college, pay for college. We're going to pay for your college. Pay for college. Well, is the government going to pay $100,000 for every person who enlists for the college? Think about that. Think about that. How many people enlist in the military every year? And do you think our government is going to pay $100,000 for everyone? If that's the case, then why do student athletes, these scholars, student scholars, why are they even pushing themselves today when all they got to do is graduate high school? And the government's going to come down and give you a check, a nice big fat check for $150,000 to pay for your education. Okay? No. Once again, that's that lure. It looks like the real thing. It moves like the real thing. But you swallow it, you're going to find out you're going to be in a frying pan. Okay? Or, as they say, you're going to be left with the future with no hope. So, pay for college is this. When you Google it, when you look around, if a person would have to have graduated from a college and got a degree, a lot of times it's medical, dental, engineering, physics type of thing. Okay, now you got your degree. You're promising now. So you got a degree. Now remember, you already graduated. You already put your time in. You already put the money in. But now you want to pay for this degree, right? Now you don't want this student loan over your head. So you go to Mr. Recruiter, the military, and they'll say, you know what? You're one of the 5 jobs that we need in the military. 5 high-level jobs. Remember, they have a list. There's a certain list that the military will work with. If you're not on that list, if you don't have that degree, they're not going to talk to you. So, you enlist. After serving for so many years in that field, they will probably pay for some of your degree. That's paying for college after you got your degree. Nice thing about it, if you're going as an officer, a lot of times they'll do your graduate degree as well, but you got to serve time. Remember, you're going to pay either upfront or afterwards. In the military, pay for college, you're going to pay for it afterwards. So instead of being in that field, you're going to go join. A lot of times they're doctors, there's lawyers. That's why you don't want military medical. Right, because these guys just punch the clock to just get some practice work in. Right, and that's something you want to know about too, because they're not held to the same standard. I'm digressing here, as a doctor in civilian life, which means that they can commit medical malpractice, and get away with it. That was the basis for the Ferris Doctrine. Okay, so let's move on. I'm sorry for digressing. Tuition assistance versus scholarship versus full ride expenses. We all know what that is. A full ride is when a high level 1% student athlete gets a full ride scholarship to a major university, right? To a D1 school. Maybe the D2 school, they'll kind of shave you a little bit. They'll pay you some of it, but not all of it. Some of the scholarship is based on academics as well. If you score high enough on the SATs or any other equivalent test, or if you had a high grade point average, you would qualify for some scholarship money there as for, okay? Once again, that's an option that you could have, right? There's a lot of scholarship money out there. There's a lot of colleges that will give it to you. And you piece it together. I'm kind of learning a little here. You can graduate with college with little or no debt without giving up your freedom. Okay. That's my little nugget. That's my nugget. Okay. Tuition assistance, that's basically, they're not going to pay for it. They'll pay maybe a small portion of it. Okay. Not much, but just a small portion. You still got to come up with a major part. And usually a lot of times that's going to be just reimbursement type stuff. Scholarships, basically you don't have to pay back. Right. And that's not in the militaries. Yes, that's not going to happen. They're not going to need no scholarship. If it is, there's a string attached and you got to read the fine print. Okay. I'm just kind of going over when I transition to live or with video, then I'll show you some data there. But in full ride, all expenses, yes, the 1%ers. Little Mary Jane, a person graduating high school, right, with an average GPA, doesn't have any community service time or anything outside of that. They won't qualify for an all expense full ride. But the military wants you to think that. They take something that you know, which basically means the words tuition assistance, right? Okay, as a help assistance and a scholarship. And automatically a person doesn't think about they're getting a full ride. But that's not the case. So the devil's in the details. You got to ask questions. You got to do your due diligence, research it online, look at the brochures. Okay, it says Veteran Administration, right? If they're saying pay for college, you got to Google that. They'll say, hey, what degrees do I need? How does that work? Right? You can Google it. You're not dumb, and it'll tell you, right? And they will tell you. I've gotten through my experience and my research in 30 years trying to deal with this military issues that was brought to my doorstep through a bad situation with the Washington National Guard that they persecuted an innocent person is why I'm sitting here today. That helped me realize that what I went through wasn't a fluke. It wasn't isolating incident just a Gary. It's how the military operates. It's what the military does, right? You're a commodity when you enlist in the military. Your body is what they want. We need, I know before you people want to be out there saying, anti-patriotic, or, you go to some other country. Before you start telling me to do that, hey, I'm limping. I have a medical condition because I serve proudly. Okay? I walked through this. The difference between me and other people is I'm sharing my story to help others. But I'm not the only person doing this. You can Google it. You can all online. Militarycounterrecruitment.com. You talk about just military Farage doctrine. Okay, paying for college, is it true? You do your due diligence. I'm just kind of eliminating it in a way that maybe for you to think. So what's my story? What's my connection? How am I able to sit here and yap about this? Okay, here it goes. I've always wanted to go to college. You know that. Okay? I couldn't afford it. You know that. I didn't have anyone, teachers or advisors at school, counselors, who were looking into my interests. I was just this kid walking through school with these dreams inside me. But because I didn't fit the molds, they didn't talk to me. I saw the military as a way to serve, to earn some money, living expenses, and get a college degree. It sounded good to me as an 18-year-old. I can get a job. I can serve my country, which I've always wanted. I've always wanted a green ID card. My dad's military. I was proud to serve. I just loved it. To me, it was just, as a growing up kid, I wanted that military ID card. To me, that was it. So with my VA disability, I qualified for VA. Remember, once again, it's VA now, Veteran Administration Rehabilitation Program. Okay, it just so happened that, yes, while I was in, the 9 year I was in, I pieced it together. It was easier once I became an NCO. I pieced together enough classes together at different places, different times, different schools to have almost about a year away from associates. Okay. Now, remember I said about the 3 years? Well, when they evaluated me and they did all their little testing and stuff, they said, well, paralegal would be, you can do that. We can pay for your school, right? Because you're close enough already to a degree, right? And we're only going to cover 3 years. Okay. When I said about 3 years, that's the way I was able to get the military to pay for my college. But it wasn't the military. It was a veteran administration through a rehab program because of my injuries I sustained in the military. Remember I told you before that you got to pay up front or pay in the backside? Well, I paid up front. I look real bad. I hurt a lot right now. It's crazy. I can't even run. So, well, because I don't do my physical therapy like I'm supposed to. But anyways, the 3 years, I had just enough so that I would have qualified. That's why. And when I did qualify for it, it didn't start right away. I remember there was a couple of months or what we call quarters that I had to wait for the paperwork to go through. And I remember having to pay for my books and I had to pay for my graduation counts for when I get my associates. The associates are telling me to go to my 4-year university, which is Central Washington University. Went to Pierce College. And then that's kind of how it went. Could I have done that outside the military? Yep. Could I have gone a lot faster? Yep. Because I found out there's a lot of money out there. There's either grants, right? You want grants, all right, scholarship. If you're willing to write and apply for these scholarships, there's money out there. There's money if you want to get an education, right? And you serve the low income Title I schools, after making so many payments, they're going to pay, the government will pay a lot of their student loan off. So there's a lot of ways that are out there, right? The military doesn't have the how you say it? They don't have the that. I don't know how to say it, but they're not the only ones that can do it. They haven't curbed the market. Okay, there's a lot of options out there for a person, and the military and their supposed benefits isn't always the way. Hey, I want to thank you. Remember, the devil is in the details, right? The military lives between the lines. They live in the shadows. They go by way of deception, as Sun Tzu said. Okay, they're not going to be truthful up front with you. Their recruiter's main job is to get you in the military because his career depends on it, or his or her career depends on it. So I want you to come back with me later on. Episode number 12 is the Education and Benefits Part 3, the fine print. Okay, and it's kind of being layered, right? But come back with me, and we'll talk some more. See you soon. Have a good day.